Hi, today we are with John McDaniels, whose career is extensive in musicals and music. He was the musical director and orchestrator for the Carol Burnett birthday special on NBC, and it won the Emmy for Outstanding Variety Special. He's going to California with Alice Ripley for 5 sold-out shows. He's launching John McDaniel's Broadway concert series at the Legacy Theater in Connecticut on February 16th, which is my birthday. He's
Happy
the
birthday.
musical arranger, supervisor, director for Lights Out, Nat King Cole at the New York Theater Workshop this spring. And that's written by Coleman Domingo and starring Dule Hill and Daniel J. Watts. Its first preview is April 30th. And if that wasn't enough, he's doing a playbill cruise in June to Greece, my favorite place, with some Broadway stars. And we're going to talk to John about that, about working on the Rosie O'Donnell show, to working with Bernadette Peters and Patti LuPone. The list goes on.
The list goes on. It's nice to be with you. Thank you.
Hi, how are you?
Hi, I'm
I'm
doing
so
well.
excited to be with you
Uh,
because music is my life.
in
Um,
mine too. I can relate.
it's the soundtrack to my world. Um, how did you get started in music?
So my mom was my first piano teacher. My mother, Jane McDaniel, taught piano in St. Louis, Missouri from the time I was born. So when I was in the bassinet, I was hearing Mozart, Bach, and Beethoven night, all through the afternoon when she was teaching. And I started studying with mom when I was 5 years old, but I already knew how to play because the piano had been in the living room and I had always been kind of, fumphering around on it and figuring things out. So I had a lesson every week. And the night before the lesson, I would go in and look at the music and sort of cram for my piano lesson. So the piano teacher, mom, didn't really know I was doing that, but of course my mom knew I was doing that.
Right.
Um, so I got through, and I often think to myself, what in the world would I be doing if I had really practiced diligently? But anyway, the talent came naturally and definitely through my mom.
What was your first gig?
My very first gig was when I was 18. I played piano in a French restaurant in St. Louis on Monday nights with a violinist named Julie Lanhart, who still plays, I believe she still plays in the St. Louis Muni Orchestra now. But then we were kids and we were at this very majestic, upright, old upright piano in the corner. And it was sort of like an oddity to have these young actually, you know what? I was 15, sorry, because I wasn't
Wow.
driving. My dad had to drive us down to the gig. So that was my very first time, my first gig every Monday night. So I was earning money when I was, 15. And I've never done, this is crazy, but I've never done anything else my entire life besides music to make a living, which I know I'm very fortunate in that. And sometimes I can't believe it's true, but
That's a blessing.
it's a real blessing. Yeah.
But I think if you played the piano, there's always jobs for you.
It's as the gigs go, it's true.
And especially if you can play things that other people can play. Like I remember when I auditioned, I sang a lot of Sondheim,
Oh yeah.
and I would hand the people the music and they'd look at me like, "Are you insane?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I am."
Yeah, a
Um,
little, but still, this is what I'm gonna do.
exactly. Um, Carol Burnett's special. Talk a little bit about that.
Oh gosh. Well, Carol is a really good friend. We met, I spent 10 years living in LA from 1983 to 1993. And near the end of those 10 years, I was the resident music director at the Long Beach Civic Light Opera, which did
I
big
know that
musicals.
well.
Yeah.
I worked
Um,
it.
oh, you did?
I did.
Yeah, cool. So we did, big musicals with full sets, full orchestra, and I did two shows there with Carol, and we became really close. Her husband now was the drummer on the very first show we did together, so I was there when they met, and so
What shows did you do?
it was the first one was called From the Top. It was three one-act musicals, Gershwin, Cole Porter, and Irving Berlin. that were expanded from three things that she had done on her show.
Oh,
It
wow.
was Ken and Mitzi Welsh put it together. It was a really great experience. And then Carol, the next year, played Joanne in Company,
Mm.
um, with Patrick Cassidy as Bobby. So uh, we've been friends forever, and this opportunity came up because she thought, who could I get to be the music director for my 90th birthday on NBC? And she called me, and of course I said yes immediately because it was a great, great opportunity. Wound up being a terrific show. And yes, as you said, we won the Emmy for Outstanding Primetime Variety Special. So yikes.
Who was on that special?
So Kristen Chenoweth, Bernadette Peters, Billy Porter, Jane Lynch, Darren Criss, Sutton Foster. It was just on and on and on. It was a great, great bunch.
Wow.
Yeah, it was great fun.
Wow.
Yeah.
You have worked with some of the most iconic singers in the world.
It's
Who are this is probably going to be such a bad question to ask, but who are your favorites and why?
Oh my gosh. You're right. It's kind of a who's who. I've been lucky because I started out in my 20s in Los Angeles. There were lots of folks still around, like Edie Adams and
Mm.
uh, Anna Marie Alberghetti, although I think she's still. But there were the golden age, a lot of the golden age folks, John Raitt, many of them had moved to Hollywood. So I got
Right.
to work with a lot of those folks. I remember a New Year's Eve that I did with Edie Adams that's really memorable. But I always come back to Elaine Stritch
Mm.
because I got to, like Carol Burnett, I got to work with Elaine a bunch of times. And I became really friendly with Elaine when I was living in LA. I had a car and Elaine didn't drive. So when she was there, she would get invited to these fancy schmancy dinner parties up in the hills. And she would say, "You want to be my plus one?" And I want to be your plus one?
Yeah.
Yes, please. So I would drive my little Honda over to the Bel Air Hotel, pick up Elaine, and off we'd go to these fantastic nights. So I was in love with her. I just loved her so much. And she was fearless, even though she had a lot of fear. We all do. But ultimately she was a phenomenal performer. And I learned so much from her. Um, really grateful for that relationship.
Who haven't you worked with that you would love to work with?
Paul McCartney.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Um, I mean, it's interesting. Sometimes people, because I have worked with so many people, and sometimes a name will come up, and I'll be like, "Isn't it weird? I've never met them." I'm trying to think who that would be. Well, I'm getting ready. So you mentioned my Playbill cruise to Greece.
Yes.
I'm getting ready to work for the first time ever with Victoria Clark,
Oh, yes, yes.
and
I interviewed her.
oh, you did, yeah. She's so great, and we've never had the pleasure. So this will be our first time together, and I'm really looking forward to that.
Who else is on this Playbill cruise?
Nikki M. James.
Okay.
Bonnie Milligan and Matthew Morrison, and
Oh, right.
probably some others will come along as well.
And where are you going in Greece?
It's round trip Athens on Lustral, which is a really luxury, beautiful ship sailing out of Athens. So we'll do the Greek islands, and go. In 1983, I was working on a Greek cruise ship sailing out of Athens. So it's going to be really flashback time for me being there. And very much looking forward to it. And after the cruise, my partner and I are going to Mykonos for 4 nights just to relax and enjoy that beautiful part of the world that I know you know and love.
I love it.
Yeah.
The Aegean Sea to me is the most amazing thing in the world. I love the Aegean.
Yeah, it's
Um,
beautiful.
and the food and the people. I love everything
All
about
of
Greece.
it. They really know how to live. Yeah.
You're going to California with Alice Ripley.
Yes, on Saturday.
Oh, on Saturday?
Yeah.
Where are
Yes,
you playing?
we're playing one show at the Orinda Theater in Northern California, which is just outside of Oakland, outside of San Francisco. And it's sold out, we're happy to say. And then we are heading south to Palm Springs, where we're playing four sold out shows at the Annenberg Museum. They have a Cabaret 88, I think it's
I
called.
know it
Yeah.
because one of my writers is a man named Prince Mario Max.
Oh my gosh.
Lipa, and he has a hotel in Palm Springs, and he's there right now.
Oh my gosh. I can't wait. It's a great time of the year to be in Palm Springs, as you know.
Oh, it is. It's always a good time to be in Palm Springs,
Well,
actually.
maybe not August, but I mean
That's true, unless you're
it
like
gets so
inside.
hot.
Um, you're about to do, hold on, I have to put my glasses on for this one. I'm so sorry. You're
Not
about to do a Broadway concert series. What's
Yes.
that all about?
So the Legacy Theater in Branford, Connecticut, which is just outside of New Haven, has a beautiful little restored theater. They put like 2 million bucks into this beautiful jewel. And for the last, I would say this is my third or fourth year doing concerts there. This year I'm doing all seven of the concerts, and we've added my name to the series because I'm hosting them, and I procure the talent, the guest artists, and basically just kind of call my friends and say, "Hey, you want to come up to Connecticut and do a show with me?" And most of the time, people say yes.
So
So
who's in this Legacy series?
So we're opening with Jay Harrison Gee, who won the Tony for Some Like It
Okay.
Hot. But later in the series, we have Norbert Leo Butz and Donna
Oh,
McKechnie, Karen Mason, Ewan Morton, who I met doing Taboo on Broadway,
mhm.
um, Nicholas Rodriguez, and Bonnie Milligan is doing
Who's
one of the
Nicholas
second.
Rodriguez?
Nicholas Rodriguez is a fantastic performer. Nicholas was in Company, the revival of Company, which was the last show that Steve Sondheim worked on. He was present for. And Nicholas has some fantastic stories about that. And he's written a show called Sincerely Sondheim, which is based on the letters that Steve wrote and received. Of course, with all of Steve's music and lyrics. It's a beautiful show. I'm really
Nice.
delighted that
Who do
Nicholas
you
is
play
doing.
in Company?
He was, oh, I should know the name. I don't remember who he
I'm
played.
so sorry.
There's so many that, it's all he was I think at first he covered and then he took over, I think.
Okay. I
Yeah.
wasn't a big fan of that version, I have to say, sadly enough. Okay, let's talk about this New York Theater workshop, Lights Out Nat King.
Nat King Cole.
Oh,
Yeah. Nat King Cole, of course, was a legend, and Nat King Cole himself handled himself with grace and dignity. And but in the 50s, when they couldn't get a national sponsor for his television show, which was a great
oh,
show.
really?
Yeah, and they pulled the plug, and our show takes place on the final night of the taping. And even though Nat was cool and collected, what was really going on? What kind of anger and rage was he actually dealing with at this time when he couldn't express it? So our show has a lot to do with that final taping. It's really fascinating and
Yes, it
is
sounds fascinating.
really moving. And of course, we have the Nat King Cole songbook, which is some of the greatest songs ever written. So it's a beautiful palette to get to work with.
This is my favorite question to ask musicians.
Uh-oh.
They say that eyes are the windows of the soul, but I think songs are.
Mm.
What song or cycle of songs describes who John McDaniels is?
Oh my gosh. Oh boy. It is a hard one because there are so many to choose from. My
Oh,
my
but
mental my
it should
mental Rolodex is
constantly,
flipping.
it should constantly change. There's no right or wrong question to
Yeah.
this answer, but I think it tells who people really are.
Gosh. A song that I always come back to is a song that Trisha Yearwood sang called "The Song Remembers When," and you might
Mm,
know it. And it
yeah.
has three incredible verses that paint pictures of memories and you know how music can take you to the place where you first heard that song,
Oh,
or the
absolutely.
or the time in which you first heard it. I can be I can be in my mind where I first fell in love with this song by the Bee Gees or whatever, driving my little car in St. Louis. So so the song Remembers When is I always come back to. I love performing it. I love listening to it. And Trisha Yearwood has long been one of my favorites. She chooses great material and is one of the great voices. So I'm going to say that today.
Okay. Um, what haven't you worked on that you would like to work on? You've done so much, but is there anything that
Yeah,
you've wanted to do that you have just haven't had that chance?
I turned down an opportunity once to work on a movie musical
Mm.
because I was involved in something else that I was committed to, and so I had to turn that down. And I wish I could go back in time and say, what if I could have done both? What if I could have
Mm.
got into a movie musical? I think I would have had a great time. Um, so that would probably be on my wish list.
You've conducted and composed for many Broadway shows, including Catch Me If You Can, which I love. Uh,
Yeah.
what show inspired you to work on more shows like that?
A
Is
couple
there
things.
a show?
Yeah,
Is there
a
a show?
couple. I remember the first Broadway show that I ever saw on Broadway was at the Court Theater, the long-running magic show
Oh, I
that
love
Scott
that show.
Schwartz wrote the score for. And I was in high school, and I fell in love with the score. I could almost sing Lion Tamer and West End Avenue, bits of it the next day walking up Broadway. And I went up to Lincoln Center, and I'd heard about the Lincoln Center Library. And I thought, I was kind of young and naive. I thought, let's go into the Lincoln Center Library and get the music for the magic show. Well, of course, it doesn't appear magically like that. Um, I was able to look at the score to Carousel, which of course had been there for decades, but not the newest things, of course, wouldn't be in the library. But I just thought this kind of feeling that I'm getting from this music and being in a Broadway theater, it latched onto my soul and it never let go and it never gets old. I mean, I still, you walk into the theater, show your ticket, get your playbill, sit down, wait for the overture. There's nothing like that experience with all of us who decided long ago, maybe, or even that afternoon, let's go see this thing. And we all go and sit together in the audience, and the house lights dim and the overture starts, and it's heaven. It's heaven.
Oh, I agree. Magic Show is actually one of my favorite shows. That score is
Oh my gosh, there's so many
love
great
that score.
songs.
I want them to revive that show so badly.
Oh,
I talked to Scott Schwartz. I can't speak. I talked to Scott Schwartz this summer about it, and he was
oh yeah,
like
what did he say?
that they're actually thinking about it.
Oh wow.
I would love to see it. You need
Yeah,
a magician, but you've got Neil Patrick Harris.
sure. He loves
So,
me.
and that would be like fabulous.
Yeah.
Um, is there a show that is in your head that you want to write?
Oh, well, I'm sort of in developmental on a lot of things. But the one that I'm the most excited about, that I keep coming back to, that we keep coming back to, is a musical version of Brave New World, which is
Oh,
based on the book by Aldous Huxley. We've almost done it in New York. We did the world premiere at in North Carolina in Asheville. Um, and it was in 2016. It was a huge success for the theater, lines around the block, great reviews. We were really thinking this is going to be, and there have been a lot of hurdles with the rights, although we have the rights. Um, it's a complicated thing, but anyway,
I think I know the story
I'm
behind it.
yeah, and Bill Russell wrote the lyrics, and I wrote the music, and it's a it's a tremendous project. So I'm still excited about the possibility of Brave New World.
Mm. And what haven't I asked you that I should be asking you? Or that you would like, or that you would like our audiences to know?
Oh gosh, I don't know. I mean, I funny thing. So because I spent 6 years working with Rosie O'Donnell on television. After that show was over, I went back to my life of continuing to work on Broadway and with symphony orchestras and piano concerts and all the stuff that I do. And I never used to wear the Rosie O'Donnell show like logo because I sort of
Um,
thought I don't really want to have people think, oh, he's clinging to that or whatever. But
or it's a
re
one-trick pony.
yeah. So, but recently I got some software that I have tons of VHS tapes of different segments we did and fun things that happened. And I was on, Regis and Kathy Lee, or I was on, whatever was happening. I have this huge collection of VHS tapes. So I recently got some software that I can download those into my computer and make little files of them. And I've been watching stuff we did on that show, and I'm so proud of it. It was almost ahead of its time, and it was of its time for sure. It was completely topical. But all the fun we were having was actually real, and it was a tremendous experience to get to work with all of my idols, Billy Joel and Barry Manilow, and this was way before texting and cell phones. So I have tape. I have a tape that I would make a cassette tape of my phone answering my answering machine because one day it was Pat Benatar leaving a message, and the next day it was, I mean, it was just
Oh,
crazy
no.
who's who list of people that I got to work with. So I have a lot of phone messages from them. But all of this to say that I've newly become super proud of what we did on the Rosie O'Donnell show. And I just the other day I was up in Connecticut. It was cold, and I wore this sort of fleecy thing, and it said the Rosie O'Donnell show. And I thought, I'm really proud of this. Actually, I've come to be very proud of what we did.
Well, I think there's been a distance from it that
True.
now, and people know that you have done more and did more. So I think that there's no contrast
Yeah.
to that anymore.
Yeah. I agree.
You worked
Agree.
with Time Daily.
Yes, yes, indeed. We became really good friends as well. We did my friend David Galligan, who's a director, he and I put together a nightclub act for her that Tyne and I did all across the country back in the days when Feinstein's at the Regency was a thing. We did it there a couple of times and traveled to San Francisco and St. Louis and all kinds of places in between and had just a ball. She's the real deal. I love her so much.
Yeah, she's going to be massively missed.
True.
Um, I had another. Oh, I want to put something into your head. I
Okay,
interviewed
go.
John Schneider recently.
Yes.
I asked him if he could do anything and if he had an idea for a show that he'd like to do, what would he like to do? He wants to do The Odd Couple with Tom Wopat as a.
Mm. Oh, wow.
So I'm
Interesting.
putting that in your head.
That's a great idea. I love Tom. We did Annie Get Your Gun
Right.
Together on
And you
Broadway.
did Catch Me If You Can.
Yes, we did. Yes, we did. Yeah,
So that's why I was like, wait, they've worked
Tom's
together. I should put
a
this in their
great
head.
talent. Yeah, that's wonderful. I love that idea.
I think that would, and he wants it so that they switch out. So
Yeah,
they're putting him rep the two
yeah,
roles.
yeah. It's a good idea.
And I
It's a
think as a musical, this would be something people would want to see, number one. And
sure.
I think it's a great idea.
Yeah, I do too. I do too. Thanks for that. That's
I'm
good.
putting it in your head now.
Thank you, Susanna. That's great.
Welcome. Um, you get to have the last word. What would you like to say to my audience?
Oh my goodness. Uh, well, I appreciate you having me on so much.
Thank you for
Um,
coming. I was so excited.
and I guess my Instagram is really the way to see me, John McD 123 at Instagram. I'm
Ooh,
fairly active at posting fun things that happen
okay.
and that are going to happen. And I appreciate you asking me to join you today. It's great to see you.
No, I was so excited when you were in the lobby of the Hotel Edison. And I
Yeah.
was like, oh my God, because it's hard, my father was an agent in LA. So there really wasn't anybody that I didn't get to meet. And then I
Hmm.
come to New York, and even the idols that I wanted to meet, I got to work with, or I got to meet them through somebody else. And then I became a journalist, and now I meet them all.
Right.
Um, so like having idols, I don't really have because I just meet them as people.
Yes, right.
But you were kind of like on that idol list of like
Oh,
who I wanted to meet, and I'm like, I get to meet.
this is great. Well, we've communicated through the years,
That's
with
true.
emails and articles and things, but it's really lovely to have this conversation.
No,
Glad
it
we
is.
know each other.
Thank you. Thank you so much for being a guest.